when we start service. Usually you're out running around doing stuff, so I'm kind of freaked out right now, so I really don't know how to respond. So glad you guys are here. Well, it's again, happy Father's Day to everybody. And if you're watching from home, thanks. Hope you guys are having a happy Father's Day as well. We're really pleased today to have with us Jamie and Berly Bello and their son Logan, longtime missionaries to the Dominican Republic. And one of the special things about this is that Jamie was a teenager when we first met her. Hope not preschool or something like that, but yeah, okay, all right. So growing up in Othello, Washington, when we were in Moses Lake and Coulee City, so it's just kind of a really neat thing. We've supported them for a number of years, but we haven't had a chance to, for our calendars to line up for them to come and visit us. So I'm going to invite Jamie to come on up today, and she's going to talk to us about where they're at, Dominican Republic, and she's going to explain everything we don't know about the Caribbean and politics and everything that's going on, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and then she's going to set up a quick video we want to share with you in terms of what's going on to kind of get you up to speed, right? So what do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you. And like Pastor was saying, you've been our partners for many years. So you're going to see a bunch of testimonies in the video, and I want you to celebrate because these are your testimonies too. So you can roll that. Bello's in the... Our Bello family gives a big shout out from the colonial city in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. This is the city we have called home for the last 24 years as strategic partners sent out from the Northwest and Assemblies of God World Missions to this island nation. God called us to change a culture through a generation, and we are active in a multi-ministry focus of church planning, next-gen ministries, and worship and audio production. This past term, we accepted the challenge to plant a church in the urban city of Santo Domingo, determining to focus on reaching unengaged young families and professionals, as well as prodigals who had distanced themselves from the church. Little did we know that 6 weeks after beginning to meet with our core team of 20, the world would be confronted with the COVID-19 pandemic. It shifted our ideas and strategies, but did not stop the mission. We launched virtual connections that summer, and by July 2021, we're able to launch public gatherings in a movie theater, challenging the status quo of Dominican church culture with a non-traditional venue, attire, team approach, and a thriving kids ministry. As we return to the States for itineration in summer 2023, 3-year-old Comunidad Vida y Gozo is showing steady growth in attendance and financial giving. We have baptized new believers. We have more than 75% of the people engaged in small groups and study of the Word. We have been the second highest missions giving church in the country for our organization and regularly serve the unengaged secular community via sports ministry, coaching, food and school supplies distribution, as well as via opportunities for prayer and Christmas programming broadcasted on national networks. While pastoring this urban church plant, I began coaching a cohort of potential church planners, and there are 4 church plant projects in varying stages as a result. We have also been able to foster a new church plant effort in the Amazonian city in Peru, pastored by Dominican missionaries who were part of our next-gen ministries before going into missions. Our family is excited to share our story with you, and we ask that you stand with us to continue changing a culture through a generation. You can give, go, and pray, and find next steps on our bellos.org website today.
Wow. Well, number one, that was well done. Number two, that was just full of all kinds of information. It makes me want to go in all kinds of directions. But let's follow your stuff, your prompts first, and
Okay.
then we'll do my stuff. So after being there so many years, why did you guys decide to plant a church after being in the Dominican Republic for so many years?
Well, for the first 20 years, we were focused on youth ministry and then university ministry, raising up a generation who were changing the culture in their homes, in their schools. And I really began to realize that God was asking us to change not only secular culture through students, but church culture. There's a lot of, the National Church of the Assemblies of God is strong in the Dominican Republic, over 700 churches.
Oh, wow.
But they're very legalistic, and they have been losing their young adult generation.
Sure.
And some of those that we raised up as teenagers, and they're drifting away from the church, and they're not engaging those that have never been a part of the church. So we wanted to plant a church as a model, modeling kids ministry, because our kids were at that age when we started, then shifting into preteen ministry, and starting a church that would engage the unengaged, the emerging generation and urban masses. And one of the things that we wanted to model was to be a missions sending church. And I think you have a picture of 3 young people. One of the exciting things we're seeing in this season of ministry in the Dominican Republic is we are sending out Dominicans as missionaries around the world. And this is Alexis, Laura, and Miguel, who grew up going to our camps and youth conventions, became youth leaders at their church. We coached them through mentoring classes. Then they all felt a call to full-time ministry at one of our camps or youth conferences. Went to Bible school, got their ministerial credentials, and a couple summers ago, they spent 3 or 4 months in Peru serving under the couple you saw in the video.
Okay.
And then there's the next picture. That's them in Peru, all at the same time. And then another picture is Alexis and his wife and their 2 daughters, who have returned now as fully appointed missionaries to Peru. And they're there with another gal from our church plant team who's doing 4 months with them. So we're sending out, and we want to be a church that models generous giving and sending of our Dominican missionaries. And we also want to be a church that models how to be outward focused and engaged with the community.
That's great. Now, this is my question, so just off topic totally. So doesn't being a pastor mess up you being a missionary?
No, it just makes it a little more interesting. I'm preaching on a regular basis more than I did when I was just a missionary, because I wasn't in one church, I wasn't on the preaching schedule.
Right.
But
well, her dad's a pastor, so he's got all kinds of old sermons you could use, right? Just grab one, right?
I bet he does.
Very cross-cultural.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I haven't asked him for his library of sermons yet, but I have stolen one of my sister's.
Oh, there we go. That works. So you talked about connecting with the unchurched. How are you going to do that? Especially, and you talked about connecting with the unchurched as well as the church who's leaving.
The prodigals, we call them.
So what's your strategy, or what do you think is one of your strategies, or some of the things that you're addressing?
Well, one of the first strategies, obviously, it was not our idea. It was through COVID. The first way that we were able to get into the homes of the families that live in the demographic that we're trying to reach, which is Arroyo Hondo. It's where we've lived for 24 years in 4 different houses in the same neighborhood. It's where our kids attend a bilingual international school. Okay. And the families live behind the gates. We say they live in gated communities. They're larger homes, and they pretty much all have gates, and they'll drive home in their SUVs and open the remote control so the gate opens. They go, drive in, it shuts, and you have to figure out how you can get beyond those gates to even get to the door to interact with them. It's not like the barrios of Latin America. Right. It's a different demographic. But God gave us screens through COVID, and we were beyond the gates into their homes through screens. And we started with kids camps on Zoom. I'd never seen it done, and I said, let's try it. And, it worked. It was kind of crazy. Then we started some life groups on Zoom. I started one for moms in a time where we all felt very overwhelmed trying to help our kids learn how to do online schooling, kids that had never touched a computer before, and we were at home. In the DR, you could not leave home for many months. And so I, sent out a chat invitation to the moms group from school. Hey, I'm going to be studying a book that's called The Supermom Myth on Thursday nights. Anyone want to join in? And it's a Christian book that uses a lot of scripture and has tips on how Jesus will help us in the areas that we're struggling. So we had some moms from the school, families that are completely unconnected to Christ, never before gone to church before, and they started attending on a regular basis. Our first convert was a mom who gave her heart to Jesus on our Facebook Live service. Before we'd ever even been able to have services in person, she wrote in the chat right as I was finishing the message on Facebook Live, and we're watching from the beach, because it was my birthday weekend, watching our live service that we pre-recorded, and I say, would anybody like to accept Jesus? Just write it in the chat. And I saw this message appear from this lady that had been coming to our mom's group for months, and I called her on the phone, and we prayed, and she accepted Christ. But the other way, long answer to your question, sorry, but the other way that we are connecting with the unchurched in this demographic is because of the kids that God gave us. And some of you have already asked, we have two, and why isn't the other one with us? Well, one's at a basketball tournament in Kelso, one's here at a tournament in Everett. But they love sports, and they have friends at school that love sports. And their friends at school have parents who love to watch their kids play sports, just like Berly and I. And so our way in with these families and finding an invitation into their home beyond the gates and into their cars and having them ride share with us, their kids, has been through sports. And we began to get to know moms and dads on the sidelines of the soccer field and then on the basketball court. And then we saw a need. The basketball team wasn't doing great. And I know a guy, I think you know him too, my Uncle Kim. And he's a pastor in Washington, but he's also coached basketball for 40 years in public schools, junior high and high school. So I asked him to come down, and we put on a basketball tournament. And I think there's pictures of the basketball kids on the court. And he helped us provide a need in the school and with these families, just helping their kids learn skills about basketball. And we said, let's see what God will do. And the moms and dads were so excited about their kids learning the sport. The moms started showing up at the basketball camp just to watch on the sidelines. And then they started messaging the school about how great this was and how they wanted it to happen again the next year. So we came back. But at the last day of the first week of basketball camp, the after-school director came to me and said, hey, we know your uncle lives in the States and he's going to leave, but you've had a Dominican guy helping him all week. Could we hire Richard to be our assistant basketball coach? So they hired our youth director from church to work at the secular school where we can't talk about Jesus because it's like a public school here, and he's on their staff. And then the next year just went in even better, and we've been doing other 3-on-3 tournaments. Right before we left to come back to the States last year, we did a 3-on-3 tournament at a little hoop by our house, had about 50 of these basketball families in our home, and I had a dad who normally doesn't get to the games, so I didn't know him as well, but he was there that day, and he said, I don't know why your job wants you to leave for a year. That's kind of crazy. You should be here, but we're only giving you a year permission. And he said, you have made a family on the court and off the court. And our prayer is that they would begin to become part of our family of God, too. These are the families we want to reach.
That's so cool. Now, just as a point of clarification for you, missionaries typically are on the field for like 4 years, and then they take a year off. Not off, they take a year to come back and visit and re-up their financial package, the itinerate, and they go from church to church, kind of like what they're doing now, with the hope that not only will we include them on our giving, as we do with other missionaries, but that maybe they'll increase because, as you know, budgets increase because of inflation and all that kind of stuff. So that's why they have to be gone for, at a minimum, of a year. Sometimes. Have you ever beaten that? Okay.
Yeah, we have, and it's going to happen again.
Okay, so good. So that's the reason why they have to leave the field, and that's not just with Jamie and her family, but also pretty much every missionary that we know. So just as an FYI.
That's probably where the difference between being a pastor and a missionary comes into play. Have you ever had your pastor leave for a year or longer?
No, don't put any ideas in their mind. So don't.
No. So that's, But that's what we're doing. We are the lead pastors of a church in Santo Domingo, and we haven't been there. For the first 6 months we were gone,
Wow.
they had me pre-record a message, so they're seeing me preach once a month. But we're raising up a team that is doing the ministry while we're gone.
Well, so for those of us who don't know anything about Dominican Republic, can you just kind of bring us up to speed in terms of where it is that you're living, the size of population, the demographics about that, and the country, and yeah.
Okay. It's in the Caribbean. The second largest island in the Caribbean is the Dominican Republic on the eastern 2/3 and Haiti on the western 1/3. So the two countries share one island. They speak Spanish. The country has about 10 million people, and in the city we live in, there's more than 3 million. We live in the capital city, Santo Domingo. So it's like, and traffic is like nothing you've ever seen. No Seattle traffic. That's like little thing. That's not bad at all.
No big deal at all.
No
right?
big deal.
Yeah.
No big
so
deal.
everything's pretty concentrated.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Now you have some stuff out there talking about Engage, and is that with Engage as with our friend Steve Shoup, or is that?
Yes.
So, but they don't know Steve very well.
Okay.
Those of us who do keep out of his way, but no, but
He's Steve. He's a missionary that had a really great idea and started a program, and it's called Engage International, and we host the Dominican Republic site.
Okay.
And it is the opportunity for university students in the States to study online at whatever school of their choice while they're living on the mission field and helping a missionary. So we receive students.
Right.
We've had several from the Northwest, from Washington. They come, some studied at Northwest, others at Eastern, others were doing online schooling, Global University, and they do a semester at a time, living in our Puente Community Center. There's a picture of a building, with empty rooms. That is the base of operation for our university ministry, and they get to live there. And students are in the center Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, in between classes, studying, getting free coffee, and they connect with Christian students there, and then they're involved in small groups on campus. So the engaged students live there, and then they help us in university ministry and at the church plant. And with the basketball camps, the last gal from Spokane, she'd played ball in high school, and we had girls on the team that second year that we were doing the camp. So I had her working with the girls, and at halftime we sit them down and do team talks about, different values that they can use as an individual player and a team player. And they hired Grace to be the assistant basketball coach.
Fun.
So you never know what the opportunities are going to be when you come to work with us. But they've worked in children's ministries. They've started youth groups at churches that didn't have one. They've been on media teams. Kind of depends on the talent of the individual.
Right.
So that's a great opportunity for people to be involved.
Yeah.
So if you know a university student, think of it, grab one of our postcards that talk about Engage.
Yeah. So it's an opportunity not just for long-term missions, but if you feel an inclination towards that, you have a moment or a gap year or whatever you're thinking, that'd be a great time to be involved and participate. Yeah,
you get the experience of being on the field trying to figure out, is this what I want to do long-term, or do I just want to serve for a little while right now?
Yeah, good. And then how does this work out in terms of us partnering with you? Again, you've been on the field for 24 years, you said? I think this is the first time you've been here.
Second
time?
Yeah.
See, I don't even remember. So there we go. But
it was quite a while ago.
Well, yeah. But we've had, how can we partner with you in a more effective way here in 2024? I mean, again, you talk about church has evolved, things are changing, culture and ideas and participation. How can we be more engaged with you and partner with you more effectively as we go into this next term?
Okay. Well, you mentioned one thing already, is when missionaries come home for their time in the States and they itinerate, usually there's an increase in budget. So it's always helpful if a church is already partnering that they would increase the partnership. Right now, the goal we're working on is 50 new partners or increased partners at $50 a month. That's what will get us back in the Dominican Republic. There's also always opportunity for cash offerings for projects. Right now, kids ministries all over the Northwest are working on a BGMC project that will help our kids ministry have a permanent location with air conditioning, and then will help us do more basketball camps and fun fests and connection events with the community. So that's a really great way right now through BGMC. We have a number of churches that will have somebody, and I think they do several people because they usually support a lot of missionaries and they don't want to, make it too much for anyone.
Right.
But somebody that'll be like the host of one or two missionaries, and they'll write every couple months and say, hey, do you have any prayer requests specific right now? And then you can present those to the congregation in whatever way you guys determine. And I think that those churches are staying a little more connected to what's going on. And, we send out a newsletter every so often, but when I get a personal email from somebody asking, then I'm a little more specific about what I'm asking for prayer right then. So we stay connected better.
And you're on social media, and so you have all these are prayer cards, by the way, and this is a brochure that you've got different elements that are part of that. Again, they're all linked to different social media platforms that you're on. So we can follow you.
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and know a lot more of what's going on.
Because some of our missionaries are in restricted countries that you cannot post anything, or they can't post anything online, and they certainly don't want you responding. And so, but that's not the case with you guys.
No,
you're able to be out more freely and talk about God. So I really want to encourage you to grab their prayer card and their other brochure information, and you can follow. And if you get on their email list, then you don't have to ask me what's going on in Dominican Republic. You'll find out right away, more immediately from you guys in terms of the posts that you make, and they can follow that more effectively, right?
I had another idea because I was talking to Mary. She's working in a school, and she told me there's 37 languages in your school. So I'm assuming you'll run into people that speak Spanish every once in a while, and you probably don't. And you're like, well, how could I share Christ with my neighbor that speaks Spanish? Well, all of our church services are online, just like yours. So if you follow my social media, you can, or you send me an email, I can help you link up to our church services in Spanish that you can offer to your Spanish-speaking friend.
Oh, what a great idea. Yeah, that's definitely good. When do you guys have to go back? Or when do you get to go back? You don't have to go back. When do you get to go back? And I also wanted to follow up with, you were doing ministry while you were on the beach, and I want to follow up on that strategy on how that works.
Okay. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, all right.
Ask my kids. They'll tell you. They wish, it would happen more often. But, well, the goal was a year. And the basketball team families wanted it just to be a year, but we haven't quite made the goal. So we are going to stay the school year. And we might raise what we need to raise before the school year ends, but we have, Ethan is now going to be a sophomore in high school. Logan's going to be an 8th grader. So transcripts and graduation is pretty important, right?
Yeah.
And moving them back to the DR in the middle of the school year, it's possible the Minister of Education would not accept half credits and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So as a family, we don't want to slow down their high school career, and so that we've made that commitment. We'll stay the school year, and then we'll go.
Okay, all right. And was Burley wanting to say anything today?
Yeah, he can come up. He likes to stay there. He says, I'm the microphone person, but we are a team.
Right.
And he's got a big part of ministry that's totally different than what I do.
Right. Because now, you're kind of famous in the DR, aren't you?
No.
No? No, you have a background. Go ahead.
Well, my name is Berly Bello. I was raised there in the Dominican Republic. And since I was young, God called me in the ministry doing music. And since then, I was practicing and studying the instrument, mainly the piano. And now, every time that we have event, a youth camp or conference, we offer training for those students that want to improve in their instrument, we offer, tell them how to be better playing in the band, what is the role in each instrument has in the band, and when they go to the churches are receiving more trained students that way they play better in their churches, and also helping different ministry in finishing their album. I helped them in the recording process.
Oh, wow.
And the mixing process. We did a few Christmas special there in our church in the Dominican Republic. And a TV station there offered to show the Christmas special for free.
Even
the
better.
Christmas day.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was very good.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
There's something else.
Okay.
He's never going to give you all the details.
Probably not.
And when he says he helps ministries finish their album and stuff, these are Latin music professionals
Yeah.
that some are touring Europe and the world, and they're very well known in the Spanish-speaking Latin music world. But Berly also got to go back to university during COVID, doing it online, and got his audio production degree from Full Sail University.
Nice.
And that opened a whole new door. He's always done music recording. He has a studio and music production stuff. But now he is working in the Christian filmmaking industry.
Okay.
And there's a picture of what looks like a movie trailer thing.
Okay.
And last year, while we were in the States, he mixed all the audio for a Christian movie that showed in the theaters in January and February in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. I knew he was more talented than what he was letting on. So.
Yes, and so there's two or three movies out there that his name is in the credits now, and hopefully that'll be, a more common thing happening in ministry.
Yeah.
So
well, it sounds like you have some great opportunities, especially with the TV and online and those kind of opportunities. So it kind of sounds like you're kind of guys are on the cutting edge or the front lead of that for where you're at and opportunities. So God's given you good favor. Nice to know it's not just about basketball, but that you're doing music and stuff, which is great. Our opportunities to feed into the church. So that's super.
It's really good.
Yeah. What?
You want to stay and answer? Or are you gonna?
No, I can't see it.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Berly. Appreciate it.
See, he says that I'm the one with the microphone, but when he gets behind the music and our band, that's when it goes live on national television. So it's because of him that we are able to share with more people.
Cool. So what do you? Not right now. What else can you do you want to tell us that we haven't asked you about?
Thinking. I just want to tell you about one of my mom friends who was coming to the moms group on Zoom. And after quite a while, I think it was after a year of being on Zoom, and prior to that, we had seen each other at soccer games and basketball games, and that's how we became friends. I call her my sister from another mother because she is white. She's from the United States. She's married to a Panamanian. I'm married to a Dominican. We have third culture children. She works for a nonprofit organization. And one of the things, she's done many things through that organization, but one of the things has helped young girls who are at risk of being trafficked, help them to understand the cues and how to get out of that lifestyle, which is a similar thing that I did with youth ministry with girls in the DR for years. So very similar lives, you would say. One big difference. I know Jesus, she doesn't. And so she'd been coming to this mom's group. I helped her download the Bible app on her phone because after a couple of weeks, she's like, man, you keep referring to some book and there's, numbers and everybody has this book and I don't know how to get the book. And I'm like, hey, I can help you. You can get it for free. So she could read the scripture with us. And then after the restrictions lifted for COVID and we could get together in person, I had coffee with her and another mom one day. And I was sharing a little bit about my faith journey. And then I asked her if she wanted to share anything with us about her faith journey. And she said, well, when I was young, grade school, I went to church sometime with my grandparents once or twice. She said it wasn't a happy place. People didn't look like they wanted to be there. And so I never wanted to be there again. And that kind of ended. That was her only thing. And then she said, and I don't really understand why you say we have a faith journey. She goes, I have always thought that everybody gets to just choose their own path in life. And I don't think God has anything to do with it. Now, what would you say if a friend of yours that you're having coffee with says that to you? How do you're like, I want to share. This isn't the moment, but this is the time to lean into the relationship and stay friends. And so I thanked her for sharing. The friendship continued. She continued to come to the moms group. She's never come to our church services, but every time we have an activity for her kids, she shows up with her kids. There's a picture of her. You can throw her up. She's the lady in the yellow with her kids in yellow. She came to a dress-up event we did in the fall for kids. And when we had basketball camps, at the second one, she became an assistant coach because she's very involved with sports. But about 2 years after we had coffee, and she told me God doesn't have anything to do with your life. She sent me a text last May before we came to the States, and she said, Jamie, there's a really big decision facing me and my family. It'll make big changes, and I don't know what the right decision is. Would you pray with me that maybe God would help me make the right decision? Now, I don't know if she understands that she's on a faith journey, but that text told me that she is, and she has progressed. And as far as I know, she has not made a decision of faith yet, but she's very involved with our church's social media and likes every post. And, sometimes I know that she's watching. And so I just would like you to pray with me that my friend Tess finds Christ. Those are the people that's why we're planning a church. That's why we're doing this, and that's why our whole family is very much involved. And, that's one school community because our boys go to one school and we're working on the families and the basketball team on that one school. But as they've played sports, we've learned that there's at least a dozen international school communities around the capital. With a lot of unengaged with Jesus families. So I would like to see our church multiply and plant a campus to focus on every one of the international school communities.
So cool. What a great idea.
That's a big prayer request. That also means we need a bigger team. So I don't want to steal your people, but I also want to
they belong to God.
Give an opportunity. Maybe God's speaking to somebody. I said university students can engage with us, but maybe a teacher wants to come for a while, or a different kind of coach, or even, recently one of our partner missionaries in the Caribbean had a retired couple. Sign up to come down and serve with them for a year or a couple years. It's a possibility. So if God's speaking, let us know.
So one of the reasons why they will be available after service is so you can talk to them and ask them questions. And if you don't get a question answered today, take their information and you can email them, and they would be happy to respond to you even if they are on the beach.
I do respond from the beach. I said it was the birthday weekend. Remember, that was the big deal.
I just heard
so
beach.
he took us to the beach on my birthday. And the boys know there's one other time that we always get to the beach. And this is where you can be involved. With every short-term team that comes down for 8 to 9 days, there's one day that's the beach day, and my boys know it. It's about after they've done all the ministry, and they're like, it must be beach day, right? We get to go. That's usually when we go to the beach.
There we go. All right. Well, I just did want to ask one question because I was before we conclude. It was about Haiti, and that the disparity between the two halves of this island. The Dominican Republic seems to be flourishing. Haiti is in chaos. What's going on? How is that? How is it that Haitians are not crossing over the mountains to come into the DR? How's that happening?
Well, they're two different cultures. We speak Spanish, they speak French, and Creole, and so there is a difference of lifestyle and everything. And there is, between us and Mexico, there's a border, and there's two easy locations where you could cross, but those are border crossings that are patrolled by, security and everything, and you have to have your passport to get through. It's, between two different countries. But in general, people say, why is it so bad in Haiti and so good in the DR? Well, it's not that it's completely good in the DR, but I do believe there's a spiritual aspect to
definitely.
it. And, historically, we have been told that years and years ago, leaders in Haiti dedicated their nation to the devil. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that they have empowered him to be in control. There's a lot of witchcraft that happens in Haiti, and right now what's going on is the gangs are in control, and there's a lot of violence. And my father-in-law has communication with their AG superintendent, their personal friends. He studied in the DR at the Bible school, and when my father-in-law was the Bible school director. So a couple months ago, he wrote him and by a chat and found out exactly what's going on. It's not good. There's lack of supplies. There's a lot of fear of going out in the streets, even to go to the bank, drive-by shootings and all kinds of craziness. Why is it not flowing over? Well, because there is, border, and there's something holding people from coming in. And some people say, why isn't the Dominican Republic taking care of the problem? Well, it's not a big power nation that way, that's got to have, they have military, but they're not going to go in and try to take over. Their real interest is that it doesn't cross over to our side. Recently, there's been trade issues, so there's an economic impact right now because borders have been closed because there's a river between part of the border too, and there's a historical agreement between the two countries that neither one touches the river to make it flow any different direction. But on the Haitian side, they have been building a dam and a canal to try to shift things. And so there's been, warnings. Hey, remember the treaty? And we're going to do this if you don't stop. And it hasn't stopped. So the border got closed. So the trade isn't going back and forth, products, farm products and everything. So it's hurting both sides. We don't know what the next few months are going to bring. Troops are supposed to go into Haiti. And rumor is that the gang members, if they're going to try to jump ship, they'll try to cross the border. Maybe they will. We don't know. So far, the violence has not come in, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of Haitians that live in the DR. I mean, it's like immigration with Mexico. They do the farm work. They do the construction work. And many Haitians have lived their whole life in the Dominican Republic, but don't have paperwork because they never had it in the beginning.
So your life isn't just being in the Caribbean, with a day at the beach every day.
No,
so
it isn't.
That's a misnomer. Okay. So, well, we're going to pray for these guys, and if you'd like to participate in giving and helping them on their mission to achieve in terms of planting their church, getting it established, helping with camps, reaching people who are lost, and just connecting with this next generation, you can do so. There's a giving envelope in the chair of the car. And a card in the chair in front of you that you can just write a check, and on the left-hand side of your check, just put Bello, Bello, and that would be great for them, and we'll make sure that gets to them. And we're just really glad you guys came.
Thank
Sorry
you.
it's been so long since
Well, sorry
since
that we
calendars
haven't
didn't fit up. And so,
connected.
yeah.
But it's good to be here
No,
today.
we're really glad. And we really want you to take advantage of talking to them. And then after church, if you want to try to force Burley to play piano, you can do that as well. So, but we won't.
You can also hear it. There's a QR code in the brochure that you open up and you see his picture, and that will take you. He has some instrumental music that he's original recorded. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that.
So there's some options here. So, but before you guys turn into a rowdy crowd, we're going to pray, and then we'll give you guys a chance to go and meet them out in the foyer if you want, or if Burley wants to stick around and play, he can do that too. All right, let's pray. God, thanks for these guys, for Jamie and Burley and Logan, and we just pray that you would be upon them. Lord, that your Spirit would just open up, God, people's hearts and opportunities and give them favor, Lord, that they would be able to achieve not only what they have in their heart to achieve, but even more. And God, that you would open our hearts as a participating church, a partner church, God, to not only bless them today, but Lord, in the days to come, the years to come, that we would not only lift them up in prayer, but be consistent in our support financially and just in every other way too. And God, that you would just be at work in all of us. And Lord, if there's anyone here today, or anyone maybe who's watching online, God, that has that what Jamie has shared, or that they're stirred to maybe participate in the ministry in the DR, God, that you would just call, Lord, those who you want to send. And Lord, that you would open up the opportunities for people to go and to be a participant in that. And Lord, that you would just do your will in our hearts and our lives. And so, God, we're so grateful for what you do and what you are accomplishing in their lives. Pray you protect them and keep them. Lord, enable them. And God, that you would just be at work in us too. And so, Lord, we just thank you for your goodness and your grace. Be at work in us, Father, we ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.